What's going on, vinyl community and Kiss Army? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. Today's video is going to be something completely different from the usual content that I create, but something I feel all the diehard Kiss fans will enjoy, and the focus is going to be on Scooby-Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery. This direct-to-DVD movie came out back in 2015 and tells the story of the Mystery Gang going to a theme park to investigate a series of strange occurrences, and with the help of Kiss, they discover a witch's evil plan. Obviously, there have been plenty of other Scooby-Doo crossover films over the years. They've paralleled with the WWE universe, Batman, and Courage the Cowardly Dog, and honestly, what better phenomenon to join the fold than Kiss? Now, to be honest, I do remember when this movie came out at the time, but I was not in a rush to check it out for myself because I felt that it wasn't really catered to me as a fan. And perhaps it can do with the fact that this film was made intentionally for a younger generation. Hell, the band isn't even referred to as Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric. Instead, it's their respective Demon, Starchild, Spaceman, and Catman personas, so maybe it was purposely angled to be in a more superhero-esque kind of direction. I slept on this movie for so long, and it wasn't until recently that I watched it for the first time, and I realized that the producers and directors really did their homework in regards to analyzing the Kiss legacy and interspersing it in this film. It wasn't just a thing where they utilized the band and personas at face value. They dug deep into album covers, song titles, and little bits of minutia that make this film enjoyable for the analytical diehard fan to watch. When I was watching it, I was getting all excited finding all these little Easter eggs, and I thought it would make for a fun video to point out all of these references. Now, I can confirm doing this video at this point in time was merely coincidental, considering the movie is celebrating its 10th anniversary, but hey, what better timing? So basically, I'll be summarizing the narrative of the film and utilizing clips from it and correlating it where each of the references come from. So beware, there are going to be a lot of spoilers, and there is quite a bit to get through. So enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. The film opens up with a shot of where the storyline takes place in, and that's the Kiss World Amusement Park, which aside from being the name of both a Kiss compilation and the museum at the Kiss Monster Mini Golf in Vegas consisting of Gene's collection, the idea of a Kiss-centered amusement park dates back to 1979 and was referenced briefly during the infamous Tom Snyder interview.
And soon to come is Kiss World, a traveling amusement park.
Then it cuts to two park employees testing out a roller coaster, and some of the shots remind me of the opening roller coaster scene in Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Also, fun Easter egg, the two park employees are voiced by no other than Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith, aka Jay and Silent Bob. While on the ride, the two get spooked by the sight of the film's antagonist, the Crimson Witch. They burst into the park supervisor's office, whose name is Manny Goldman, which could be a spoof on Danny Goldberg, who did PR, managed, and acted as record label president for Kiss over the years. Anyway, the two are panicking, and this isn't the first of suspicious activity Manny has heard of, so he calls for
the hottest mystery solvers in the world.
The Mystery Gang is on their way to Kiss World, decked out in Kiss costumes and makeup, not to mention Love Gun era costumes. All but Fred, who is unimpressed and standoffish when he defends his favorite group, the Ascot 5. Non-Kiss related, but the cover of the CD he holds up bears a striking resemblance to the album cover of Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. The song that's playing is called Don't Touch My Ascot, which is in fact sung by Kiss in a barbershop quartet style, and technically is the final Kiss studio recording, and what an odd one.
My ascot, don't pull my ascot. It's not as gone. No, baby, you can't have my ascot, 'cause girl.
The gang arrives at the park and notices all the fans running for the exit. They meet the chief of security.
I am Delilah Domino.
A reference to the song Modern Day Delilah from Sonic Boom. And Domino from Revenge. Manny fears that he will lose the park if the Kiss concert doesn't occur, something of which park manager Calvin feels in Kiss Meets the Phantom, where Kiss's presence will outweigh the shortcomings of Devereaux's animatronic experiments.
Somebody trying to save this park from terminal deficits.
Manny is explaining this to Chip Magoo, who is literally Doc McGee, Kiss's actual manager, who doesn't care about the loss because it's more profitable to have Kiss touring instead of playing a theme park, and feels it can go down a toilet.
Preferably this Kiss toilet.
Even though Kiss toilet seats exist, this reminded me of when comedian Craig Gass dressed up and did an impression of Gene on the Howard Stern show and was making up absurd Kiss products, one of them being a Kiss toilet.
Banker,
I'm really here to talk about some exciting Kiss products like the Kiss toilet.
The Mystery Gang wants to do everything they can to help bring Kiss back to the park, and the hottest band in the world makes their grand entrance.
Oh, they'll come back to see us.
The opening credits are full of visual references to album covers and more, such as Creatures of the Night, the Unmasked poster, Destroyer, Kiss Alive, the Dynasty and Unmasked stage, Rock and Roll Over, Sonic Boom, Dynasty, and Love Gun. I also love how the font on the opening credits matches the one used on the Love Gun album cover. The Mystery Gang meets Kiss, and right off the bat, Daphne and the Star Child start flirting it up in front of Fred.
How can we help, little lady?
Turns out Kiss are also mystery solvers, but on a cosmic level, and with Star Child's persuasion, the two entities join forces to help each other. Kiss and the Mystery Gang watch surveillance footage of the Crimson Witch wreaking havoc on the park. They see her smashing guitars, just like the Star Child does, and I can't help but notice they included Gene's Axe bass, Paul's Washburn signature model, Gene's Punisher, and Ace's Les Paul. She also throws a gold record award, which alludes to Kiss being the #1 gold record band in America, according to the RIAA. There's no better duo than Shaggy and Scooby to intrude on a demon wolfing down burgers, and Gene is well known for loving to indulge in grub and sweets. Also, can I say that if Pop House wants to ever do a Kiss-themed amusement park, they should take some inspiration from this film, because I'd flock to it.
We each took a section and designed it ourselves.
There's my Brimstone Barbecue, the hottest ride in the park.
And my electric alley. Don't forget my whirlwind Wildcats.
And my Dynasty Star Ferris wheel. Wow.
Notice how Paul dubs his ride the Dynasty Star Ferris Wheel. Tip of the hat to the Dynasty album title, and the saw blade design alludes to Rock and Roll Over. The running gag in this film is Doc appearing with a myriad of ridiculous Kiss merchandise items, and let's face it, there's been plenty of them, and he tries to sell them like a QVC ad.
A great place to view with Kiss binoculars. Only $24.99.
The Mystery Gang notices a ride that was closed off due to the Crimson Witch scaring some people off. Remember these guys? And Gene steps in to explain it.
That's our most wicked ride of all, the Destroyer.
An obvious nod to Destroyer.
Kiss costume change, activate!
Up until this point, Kiss were wearing their monster costumes, which were the most up-to-date and accurate outfits as of the film's making, and they underwent a Japanese-style changeover where they morph into their Destroyer/Rock and Roll Over costumes, which were later reprised for the Psycho Circus Farewell Tour and the Alive 35 Tour. Kiss takes a break, and the Mystery Gang meets a new character.
Hi, I'm Shandy Strutter, Kiss's head techie.
An obvious reference to Shandy from Unmasked, and Strutter from the debut. Also, I love that Daphne alludes to Kiss fans being unanimously dubbed the Kiss Army.
Kiss doesn't have fans, Freddie. They're called the Kiss Army.
Shaggy and Scooby get themselves some ice cream, and this is where a Lick It Up reference could have been utilized.
We'll have this case licked in no time.
But hey, it's a kids movie, gotta keep things G-rated. They encounter the Crimson Witch at the Rockin' Flume Ride, and they dodge her attacks as they jump in a boat and endure the ride. Total side note, the log flume is one of my go-to attractions at any given Six Flags, and this scene is one of my favorites. Also, the confetti cannons in Eric's part of the ride low-key remind me of the cannon that was seen on the Drum Riser during the Creatures and Lick It Up tours. They make their exit, and the Crimson Witch brings to life Kiss bunnies, one of which gets decapitated. A move that reminds me of how Paul decapitated an animatronic white monkey in Phantom of the Park. They zipline to the spinning drum shells, a ride that moves way too fast, similar to this ride in Phantom of the Park.
Scoob, look! It's Kiss!
The Kiss statues come to life and battle the Crimson Witch with their respective powers. The demon breathes fire, obviously. The Catman develops claws, the Spaceman shoots lightning, and the Star Child shoots lasers out of his eye. The latter two definitely lifted from Phantom of the Park. Scooby and Shaggy get off the ride in a sickly state and find themselves in an infirmary. Then we have the introduction of a strange fortune teller that warns Kiss that the Mystery Gang is only there to help the Crimson Witch.
Who was that?
Chikara, the psychic.
She works at the park.
She tells people's fortunes.
The Chikara symbol, which means strength, power, or force, appears on the bottom of the Hotter Than Hell album cover, and it's also the name of a Japanese-only compilation from 1988. Kiss and the gang split up in pairs. Spaceman and Velma go to talk to Chikara. Predictably enough, Daphne and Starchild head back to the drum ride where the witch was last seen, which Fred follows, and the Demon and Catman are left to stay with Scooby and Shaggy. Fred is seen scraping a potential clue from the Crimson Witch at the drum ride, and Daphne is neck-deep in her rock star infatuation, making Fred take photos of them and purposely blocks the Starchild out of the photos. Starchild offers to paint them a portrait, which I'm sure is something Paul would do since he actually does paint, except his thumb blocks out Fred. Poor guy. He suggests that they take photos of the scene, but Starchild insists that a scan from his eye tells them everything they need to know.
It puts the X in X-ray.
Okay, this was definitely a reference to Let's Put the X in Sex from Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. But to take it a step further, X-Ray can allude to X-Ray Eyes from Dynasty.
There's definitely a supernatural presence at work here.
It appears that another one of the Star Child's abilities is Second Sight. Same can be said in Phantom of the Park.
He was here.
This is ridiculous.
Sam's still in the park.
Daphne finds a trapdoor that leads to the maze of entries to any part of the park. Starchild jumps in first, and Daphne worries for him.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Pete's sake indeed, Fred. Spaceman and Velma head to Chikara's psychic lair, where she talks of
The Crimson Witch senses the rock of Casteria is near.
Casteria is a term coined by the Australian press when Kiss visited the country in 1980, and all the hysteria surrounding it. Plus, it was also the name of their vinyl Roadcase box set. Chikara talks about how the Crimson Witch created a gigantic horror that would spread evil throughout the land. This horror is known as
The Destroyer.
Another nod to Destroyer, but take note that the visual presentation ties in with the ride scene at the beginning of the film. She mentions that the Warriors used cosmic power crystals that created musical tones that defeated the Destroyer and transferred the crystal's energy into a rock.
The rock of Casteria.
The reference is obvious, but don't worry, we'll get there. I also love the visual references in Chikara's book, such as the attacking cats that were draped on Peter Criss's drum riser, as seen in the gatefold of Kiss Alive 2, and above that is mention of Jendel, a fictional planet Ace Frehley constantly references that he is from.
I'm not of this earth anyway. I'm from Jendel.
The opposite page makes reference to other past Kiss members via symbols and stylized emblems, such as Eric Carr, Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John, and Bruce Kulick. Chikara says that the Guardians of the Rock are Kiss, to which she flips the page and the band can be seen posing the same as they do on Kiss Alive, along with their makeup icons. Velma asks the Spaceman if the rock in the photo she shows him, which references the Dress to Kill album cover, is the same rock Kiss received as a gift from the city of Detroit, which reminds me how the band was gifted the key to the city of Cadillac, Michigan.
The Detroit rock that you received as a gift? From the city of Detroit?
And of course, the Detroit Rock is an obvious nod to Detroit Rock City. Velma is skeptical on Chikara's insights, but the Spaceman insists that she is never wrong.
Except that time she predicted the Love Gun album would go gold. 'Cause it went platinum! Oh yeah, baby!
Love Gun did reach platinum status in just pre-orders before hitting record store shelves in 1977. Fred and Daphne are trying to find the Star Child in the dark corridors under the drum ride, and Chip jumps in and upsells a Kiss flashlight. one of which actually did exist in the 1970s. Fred encounters a ghost, but it's actually Shandy testing out some special effects. She refers to her assistants.
Beth? Christine?
Obvious references to Beth from Destroyer.
Oh, Beth, what can I do?
And Christine 16 from Love Gun. The Mystery Gang is trying to narrow down a potential suspect and figure out a motive behind the Crimson Witch. At least Shaggy understood the connection between the Detroit Rock and Detroit Rock City.
You mean the one they sing about in that song, Detroit Rock City?
Kiss unlocks a vault that contains the rock, and Velma breaks the ice with what it resembles.
It's a black diamond!
Named after the song of the same title from their self-titled debut. I also can't help but see the vault that contains the rock as a sort of talisman that retains their powers, a la Phantom of the Park. Shaggy and Scooby act as the bait to lure the Crimson Witch wearing Kiss's boots, and the band is certain they can solve the mystery and perform the concert. Also, the surveillance shot of the crowd reminds me of the audience shots coming through Devereaux's monitor in Phantom of the Park. Also, it's funny how this show goes against the fiscal nature of Kiss.
They're performing for free.
Free? Oh, my heart!
And how about this? They're even giving away t-shirts.
Where is my Kiss defibrillator?
Also, Velma bit the bullet on the Kiss binoculars. Fred and Daphne capture the Crimson Witch with a spiderweb gun. Granted, it's the most effective contraption to catch someone, but I couldn't help but think of the spiderweb backdrop Kiss used briefly as early as 1974. The Crimson Witch breaks away, Kiss comes in to combat her, and just as they thought they took her down, she uses an axe to cut into the cosmic realm of Casteria and abduct Shaggy and Scooby. I feel like this could have been a good reference for Into the Void from Psycho Circus. The demon mentions that the star within the Dynasty Star Ferris wheel is actually a portal that leads into the realm. Kiss is determined to get through to the portal by busting into a rendition of I Was Made for Loving You, and the sudden transition is hilarious. The band and the rest of the gang enter the cosmic realm on a guitar-shaped spacecraft that reminded me of how Ace's Les Paul went into space in the Psycho Circus music video. Scooby and Shaggy dodge the witch's attacks, and Kiss combats her with their performance and powers, only for the witch to snag the rock right out of Scooby's mouth. Once Kiss and the gang arrive at the cosmic Casteria, Starchild says,
"Come, Scooby Gang, we must seek the Elder."
As much as Kiss disses music from the Elder, I'm glad it gets some love here. The Elder is basically the leader of the warriors mentioned earlier. Also, Fred's decide to join in on the fun and paint his face with a moon under his eye, you know, to complement the Starchild star. Also, it's funny how the demon scolds Velma for playing the axe bass.
Be careful with that bass.
Because it's made from alien technology?
Because it costs more than your house.
Especially if stage played. There's a scene where Shaggy and Scooby ask the demon how he breathes fire, and obviously it doesn't go into the realistic specs of the torch and the lighter fluid, but he explains it in a sweet way that I think conveys a great sentiment, especially within the confinements of a kid's movie.
The secret to breathing fire is to swallow your fears.
Fears? Like, I didn't know you could eat those.
Swallow them up, hold them inside, and force them out as demon fire.
The Crimson Witch is seen at the tomb of the Destroyer, ready to wreak havoc, and she brings to life these raven-eyed women, which in their resting position kinda remind me of the women seen on the Love Gun cover. Kiss manages to prevent them from hurting the Mystery Gang by defeating them, and Shaggy and Scooby take the demon's fire-breathing advice.
Well done, pathetic scum.
The Crimson Witch places the rock in to revive the Destroyer and evades. Kiss decides to go back to Kiss World and play their show, and the gang will stay put and distract the Destroyer with...
We call it the Kisscraft.
This is a long shot, but it reminds me of the Clipper Kiss aircraft the band had on their 1977 Japanese tour. The Destroyer makes his appearance and plans to spread havoc.
Free to destroy.
Voiced by Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish? Also, Chip didn't have to upsell Fred on a Kiss megaphone. Back at Kiss World, the band begins with that infamous drone and that unforgettable battle cry.
All right, Kiss World! You wanted the best
Now, this is a nerdy, rambling tangent. Obviously, the staging Kiss appears on is unique to the film, but it kind of reminds me of the Farewell Tour stage with the walls of amps, but where Eric's drum riser is reminds me of the Sonic Boom stage where it sat on top of a lit-up Kiss logo. While Kiss rips through Detroit Rock City, the Mystery Gang and the Kisscraft are dodging the Destroyer and going as fast as the speed of light. Thank God Scooby had that Kiss barf bag. It's not until the Spaceman's guitar solo that the music reaches the cosmic realm and Kiss in superhero form come to defeat the Destroyer. Also, I love how they do the swaying move just like they do at the end of Deuce. The song climaxes as the Mystery Gang floats back to Kiss World and crowd surfs to the front of the stage. The Mystery Gang wakes up and believes that the Crimson Witch's haze gas caused them to have hallucinations, thus nothing ever happened.
It was all a figment of our imaginations.
Whoa. I suppose pre-gaming in a parking lot before a show has the same effect. Remember when Fred was scraping for residue earlier? They got back their specimen and traced the source back to a locker that also housed the Black Diamond, and the Crimson Witch appears. Kiss comes in and faults her plan to steal the diamond, and once she gets caught, she's revealed to be...
She's Delilah Domino, the head of security.
When she's escorted out with handcuffs, she mutters the classic villain line in all Scooby-Doo flicks, but with a slight twist.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids! You meddling kids!
Also, Chip gets another merch idea.
Note to self, Kiss handcuffs.
The Mystery Gang and Kiss bid their farewells, and Star Child waits for the very end to bust a move. As the Mystery Gang leaves the park, Kiss heads back to the Elder to deliver the rock for safekeeping, and the end credits roll. So there you guys go. Those are all the Kiss references in Scooby-Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery. Now, here is a question for you guys. Despite the fact that this video gave away the entire narrative of the film, did you guys watch it beforehand? And if so, what are your overall thoughts and what did you think of the references they used? Now, if you haven't seen it, are you inclined to give it more of an in-depth viewing after watching this video? Please drop a comment down below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.